The most important thing to remember about the job application process is it's really more about selling yourself, making yourself look like the ideal candidate. It's a sales job through and through. I'm never suggesting that you lie. You don't lie, you tell the truth, but there are always ways to couch your experience, to describe things you've done that fit in with the needs of the job. So let's look at the job documents and we'll talk about the best uh, approaches to each of them. The application documents, there are three of them, as you remember. First one is the job posting. The job posting is everything that the company, your potential employer, wants. They will list it with as much detail as they can. I would still do extra research, though, because sometimes job postings aren't as thorough as they should be. And the more information you can get on the company, the more specified you can make your application material. The more specific your application material is, the more they will think that you're putting in a special effort for this job. I would pay particular attention to the keywords they use. If they use teamwork, you should use teamwork. If they use leadership skills, you should use leadership skills. Using those exact words is very important. Now, I know it sounds like I'm telling you to butter up, but there's some real reasons for this. If you use the specific words, it's clear that you're doing the application specifically for them. Two, some companies, big companies, will do the preliminary round of job application material read through with computer programs, and those computer programs will look for those keywords. Three, if the person reads your documents and says, it looks like this was the person we wrote the job posting for, then they are most likely to talk to you. So, job posting, yes, but you also want to make sure you do research and use the wording they have. So, the job posting is what they want. Your resume are the skills you have. If you can use some of the keywords, that much better. But this is mostly about making sure you spell out everything you did in ways that make them seem like you're the perfect fit for the job posting. Job posting, what they want, your resume, what you can bring. The letter of application should be the glue that binds these two things. If I read the letter of application and it's just repeating what the resume says, that's wasting my time and it's missing an opportunity. The key is to make the letter of application basically sound like I can do this thing for you that you really need because I have already done this thing. Let's talk about the individual documents specifically. In terms of your resume, you've got to make it look good. Somebody is going to be going through the job application material and they're going to have a stack of them. If you have a lot of things to get through, the first task in your mind will be getting rid of people who don't look all that impressive. So they will be looking for reasons to get rid of you. You can still stand out above the crowd if yours is extraordinary, but the main thing they're doing is making sure that they cut down their workload. So, typo, throw it away. Looks boring, throw it away. Doesn't use the keywords, throw it away. You want to make sure you stand out from the crowd. Some basic keys. The most important stuff goes first. If your job skills are more important than your education, put the job skills first. If your education is more important than your job skills, put the education first. And it's not just first, it should also be largest. It should create the dominant impression. You have to stress readability. Documents are always designed to be used. In this one, it's a sales document. You're trying to sell yourself. If they can't figure something out, if they have to work for something, they're going to move on to the next case. For the body text, never go below 12-point font. We'll talk more about document design later, but some of the Word templates will have stuff in like a 6-point or an 8-point font. That might be fine if you have great vision, but look around. Most people wear glasses or contacts. And if you're dealing with somebody who's getting older, it's a proven fact that when you start to hit 40, your vision starts to deteriorate. That's when it started to do it for me. If I can't read something or something is hard for me to read, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Make sure it's visible. Serif font versus sans serif font. You want to use sans serif fonts for the headings, and for the body text, a serif font. A serif font would be something like Times New Roman. You've seen it, it's the default font for most Word documents. When you have a T, you have little hooky things on the end of letters. A capital H has the flat things on the top of each of the two vertical posts. Those things are serifs. You want those for body text. You want sans serif font for headings. You want to be careful with white space. Don't cram everything so tight I can't see a distinction between item 1 and item 2. Don't leave me half of a page blank. You want to try to fill up the page. If you leave me half of a page blank, when we look at something, it's kind of weird, but our eyes tend to be drawn towards the blank space. When you're looking at the screen, for instance, consciously or not, your eyes are getting drawn to the big empty area on the bottom right. You want to keep stuff relatively filled up so people aren't focusing on the empty places. One page unless it earns it. What this means, if I go to the second page for 1 or 2 lines, I'm going to focus on the fact that the second page is 3/4 empty. Only go to that second page if you can put a decent amount of stuff there. Some people will tell you that it's a page for every 5 to 7 years experience you have. I don't like formulas. I will say fill up a page and only go to that second page if there's no other way to get stuff on that first page and keep it readable. One page unless it earns it. It is perfectly fine and acceptable to use the built-in Word templates. It's cool. It's better than giving me stuff that looks like it was typed by a monkey. But play with them, make them your own. Matter of fact, I would suggest that before you do that, you just go to an image search engine and look at resumes. Look to see how people are formatting theirs. You'll see some really great looking stuff, and you'll want to incorporate a lot of that into yours. Visual appeal matters because if it strikes me as interesting in any way, I'm going to pay more attention to that. Let's talk about the parts of the resume. There are a few things you're required to have, and you'd be foolish not to include. Contact information needs to be right at the top. It needs to be clear, because if I want to talk to you, I don't need to hunt for that number. If I have to do extra work, I might not call you. Contact information is a must. Education. Some people, this will be the biggest selling point if you get the right degree from the right college. If you're lacking in real world experience, but you've taken 5 relevant classes, by all means, list the classes. Keep it all stuff that works in your favor. For instance, don't put the grade point average on there unless it's 3.5 or higher. There's nothing wrong with a 3.2 GPA, but if you put that on, it's mostly going to remind the potential employer that there's a whole bunch of points above you. 3.5 is really good. Only put information on which works for you in that way, that works in favor of you. Education, experience, the jobs you've had. Describe the jobs you've had, the things you've done. But I don't need to know, for instance, person X worked at Subway and they were able to make sandwiches faster than anyone else. No, I don't care unless I'm hiring someone to make sandwiches. You describe your jobs using the words they use in the job posting. You look for skill 1 and 2. Give me an example of it, but you're focusing on the skills first. These are the things you must have. If you have relevant awards, awesome. If you're won the Chamber of Commerce Best Businessman Award and you're going into a business, that's fine. And that would work in your favor. If you're captain of your JV football team, I'm not going to care unless I'm hiring a football player. So, awards, as long as they're relevant, or as long as you can describe them as relevant. Certifications. Some technical jobs will require you hold specific licensing. If you're going into the medical field, they're going to require that you have certain kinds of licensing. If there are those requirements, you should put your certification on there. If you go above and beyond the requirements in your certification, you should definitely put it there. If you have other skills that will work in your favor, list them as a section. Now, I had a student once who wrote that they were fluent in Polish. I don't know why they told me that because the job didn't need someone fluent in Polish. But if you are bilingual and can speak Spanish, chances are there is a good call for that, particularly if you're working for a company, if you're trying to work for a company that does business with any country in Central, South, or North America for that instance. It would be a relevant skill that you can juggle. Probably isn't unless you're applying for the circus. Include stuff that you can make relevant to the job posting. Volunteer work, if you don't have direct jobs or you have volunteer work which makes you look like you should be there, include it. One of the reasons I give you this assignment now is that by the time between now and the time you graduate, if you don't have direct hiring experience in your field and you have the possibility of an internship or something like that, you can volunteer at this company that does that. It sucks to not get paid for your work, but if it makes you more hireable when you hit the job market, yeah, include it. Now, there are two different types of resumes, the two extremes, really. So let's talk about the first type. This would be a chronological resume because it goes in reverse chronological order. It starts with experience because the experience is more interesting than the education. Um, it lists the most recent job first, the job after that, the job before that, then the job before that. It uses language which can fit into most job postings. Coordinates over 300 travel days per year between major corporations, including airline booking, hotel scheduling, rental cars, coordination, managing employees, assisting solvency issues, legal counseling. These are all words that can apply to a whole lot of things. Let's come right out and say it. If you've worked in your field for 20 years, writing a resume isn't going to be all that much of a challenge. So you line up stuff and you describe it the best you can. If you're changing careers, if you've come back to work after a layoff, or you don't have directly relevant experience, there are other things you can do. We'll talk about the language of transferable skills in the next video, but you can always use what they call a functional resume. This is a resume which centers on the skills and de emphasizes the specific places you've worked. As you will find out soon, I worked in the food service industry throughout high school and college, and I worked there a long time. If you've ever worked in fast food, you know as well as I do that there's a whole lot of important lessons to learn from working in fast food. I'm actually going to force my daughter to work in fast food just so she knows what it's like. The problem is, if I say I can make French fries better than anyone else, no one's going to care. If I can talk about my experiences in ways that make me look applicable to the specific job, it's going to work in my favor. So, a functional resume works by summarizing qualifications, then breaking specific things into skills, customer service, technical, interpersonal, and teamwork, with specific examples of each of them. Notice the relevant skills is smack dab in the middle of the paper and takes up more room than anything else. The idea is I read through this and I focus on the qualifications. I focus on the relevant skills. Those are the things that stick with me the most. What am I not paying attention to in here? Well, this resume is very much de emphasizing the fact that this person worked at a McDonald's, a Burger King, and a call center. No, there's nothing wrong with those jobs, and those jobs can be very, very, very challenging, and you learn a lot of relevant stuff. A functional resume is going to make you focus on the skills and de emphasize the specific jobs. And as I said, if you've got a lot of directly great experience, it's easy to write these things, but there are ways to work around it, and a functional resume is one of them. Now, there are some do's and don'ts. Some of these are a bit silly, but we'll work on it. Unprofessional title and email address. The email address is the interesting one because I bet you got your email address relatively early and you didn't really think, what's this going to make me look like when I get in the job? Mm, you can always get a new email address, get something that looks professional. Cheeto Queen 38 is not really one you want to have. This person has a Facebook address. Unless you're looking for a job in social networking, this is probably not going to be something you want to put on. Um, People tend to be relatively unfiltered when they go on social media. The thing is, it's easy to find that information, and you might think that you have privacy controls locked on, but if you put it online, you should only put stuff online if you're comfortable with anyone seeing it, and you certainly don't want to make it easier to find bad stuff. This resume has an objective statement. People tend not to use them anymore. And the idea is that an objective statement tends to focus on what the person who's trying to get a job really wants. I don't care if I'm hiring what you want. I want to know what you can do for me. Don't give too much information. Proofread and make sure everything looks good. You and I know in professional experience, this person was an accountant and public financial analyst, but they wrote pubic. If you don't catch these things, it's going to make me think you didn't spend enough time looking through your documents to fix the mistakes. Spell check, you cannot trust it to save your life. You've got to be extra careful at paying the attention and double and triple and quadruple checking it because those are things that I will toss immediately if I'm looking for a job. Don't list high school. If you have college experience, no one cares what your high school is. Another things you shouldn't do, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these. You can always pause the video and check out all of the written information. Um, the key things on here include the months of employment, use good words, active verbs, created, consultant, maintained. These are specific things. Used graphics and JavaScript. Eh. Don't just put a one sentence line. I want to know what you did. Managed 25 to 50 employees through massive, heavy customer rushes is better. Managed employees doesn't really tell me much. Check out the computer skills section at the bottom. Can you make sense of any of that? You got to stop and look at it. You don't want to do that. And don't get silly. I like this one because one, I find it really, really funny. And you gotta admire whoever wrote this for putting a good spin on something fairly rotten. But if something doesn't work in your favor, don't include it. I said earlier that you need to look at document design and you need to go online and look at people's resumes online and pull the best ideas. This next slide will show you why. Which one of these is going to jump out at you? Pretty obvious, huh? Look to see what people are doing online and see if you can adopt it to something you'd want. Now, I personally wouldn't put something with a picture on it unless a visual plays some level of importance. And if you're going for a design job, it's going to be that much more important. But get it to look good. There are words to use, there are words to avoid. Active verbs: launched, resolved, trained, improved. There are things you don't want to put on. You don't want to put on cliches. Think outside the box. God, that just makes me want to punch you in the face. Sorry about it, but I see that a lot. Use the best words. You be specific. Use action words, power words. Focus on the job. Look at the job posting and see what words they use. Use them yourself. As far as the letter of application, keep in mind the job of the letter is to spell out, I can do this for you because I've done this. It's to draw those connections. Don't repeat stuff you've said otherwise. Contextualize everything. Now, there are a few parts to the letter. You want a definite introduction, and I will recommend a very strong topic sentence. Start off with, Hi, my name is Dr. DeBose. I'm applying for the job of pizza flipper as advertised in the Chronicle of Higher Ed, or something along that lines. You'd be as shocked at the amount of resumes I see from students where they don't actually say, I'm applying for this job. And if I'm going through a stack of things and they're not even telling me what job they're applying for, I'm not going to spend extra time to look at it. Body paragraphs. I would recommend two. The body paragraphs tie specific job skills into applicant skills and topic sentences. And I literally mean, I can do this for you because I've already done this. I can manage your employees because I've already managed employees at Corporation X and won an award for efficiency. Then you go into the rest of the paragraph explaining that and bringing in context. The topic sentences need to directly spell out, I can do this because I've done that. Then you will have a conclusion where you ask for contact and provide contact information. I would love the opportunity to talk with you about this. You can reach me at 555-5555, something along that lines. You want a call to action. You want something in the conclusion that makes them go, you know what? I will talk to them. You're planting the idea in the head. And as far as putting the phone number again in the conclusion, to me that just makes good sense. Don't make the person who wants to get in touch with you have to look for your information. Put it in the end. You can go online and see a number of different cover letter formats, and I recommend you look at all of them. But those are some basic ideas of things I look for in the cover letters and the resumes and the job application material in general.